live from the beach. It's all good times for tan lines from here on out, and as things are heating up, everyone's headed to the coast. Our advice is, avoid the crowds, remember your sunscreen, and of course, keep it locked right here for your soundtrack to the summer.
G'day, this video is called 24 Hours with the XF10. So in this video, I'm just going to share a few photos from 24 hours that I had the XF10 with me. My Fuji on Saturday, it accompanied me on a night out, well, an evening with friends in Leeds, a few drinks, cocktails and dinner, and on Sunday it accompanied, I took it to Scarborough with me to shoot with some mates out there. I also took my Nikon film camera with me the same day on Sunday, but didn't end up using that at all. Just played around with the XF10. It's really fun. It's really fun to use. The built-in flash is pretty game-changing. It's good fun. Anyway, let me just go back a little bit. You may remember, well, because if you've been following me for a long time, I basically said in my first video that I had this camera that I had sent to someone who bought it from me, and that it never arrived, or so I thought. What turns out had happened is it arrived, but he chose not to pay for the import duty. I sent it to Belgium, which meant that it was held at the post office for 8 weeks, and they sent it back. In the meantime, I've moved house, but luckily upstairs, it was a flat. The upstairs flat messaged and said, "Dan, you've got some mail," at which point my heart absolutely the opposite of sunk. I was elated. I literally finished the phone call I was on at work and then pretty much ran down to the house and found my package to this person in Belgium back in my letterbox, and I was over the moon. The reason I was so gutted was because I love the camera. I've got some notes here, so I just had to lean forward and reset my screen. I love the camera. When I bought it, I was looking at an option between sort of this Ricoh GR III, like a truly pocketable camera with an APS-C sized sort of processor thing. Something I could put in my pocket. At the time I owned the Fujifilm X100B, but people are like, oh, it's pocketable. It's really not, unless you have like a big cargo jacket with big pockets. I found it was not the easiest thing to carry around, and it wasn't sort of solid metal, so it did get banged up a fair bit, and so I was getting quite self-conscious about that. So I bought the XF10, or at least I was looking at the GR3, something I could put in my pocket. And I came across the XF10. I didn't know anything about this camera until I was doing some YouTubing and found some videos about the GR3 and compared it to this camera, a camera I'd never heard of. And in the end, I ended up going with it over the Ricoh for a few reasons. The first one being that it's a similar sensor to my other Fuji cameras that I had at the time, my X-T3 and the X100V. It was in the same sort of lineage and evolution of sensors, and I was familiar with how to edit those photos. It had a built-in flash, which the Ricoh didn't. The lens doesn't protrude when you turn the camera on, which the Ricoh does. Not by much, but it does. So what I tend to do with cameras, we walk around with pretty much everything dimmed and it just in my pocket or on the whole time. And the fact that the lens doesn't protrude is quite useful and quite attractive for me. And yeah, it had small batteries. I knew I could throw a couple of them in my pocket. And then I went on eBay and found one for a really good price. And so that was what made me buy it. I've taken some of my favorite photos with it. It's come with me on walks, commutes, hikes, a few nights out. And it's one of those cameras that's so simple to use. You can give it to a mate and they can take photos of you. Some of them may be rather unflattering. But yeah, it's a great camera. I'm glad I've got it back, and I've asked my mates not to let me sell it in the future if I ever say I'm going to sell that camera. But anyway, back to the reason we're here. 24 hours with that camera in Leeds and Scarborough. Here we go. So I'm going to finish with a few thoughts on the XF10 now that I've used it for about a year now, minus the bit in between where I lost it. That's someone messaging me. You're going to hear that on the video. Sorry about that. That's my mate Lou. Hi Lou. Anyway, so the batteries are tiny, like I said, they're awesome. I got 3 when I bought it. They fit in your pocket, they're tiny. Just said that about 4 times. They actually last ages. So I don't actually think I've ever had to change battery whilst I've been out for a day shooting, but I will change it between days if I haven't got time to charge it. So that was a surprise given how small they were. I don't use the touch screen. I don't use the film simulation recipes that you can create for it. I have a few presets that I've built within Lightroom that I've used with my other Fuji cameras, and so I just use that in post. I haven't tried connecting it to my phone, so I can't comment on anything like that. I tend to use it as in zone focusing, so manual focus, and I zone focus because you can manually set the aperture and the shutter speed, so you can get your exposure pretty right, and then just zone focus, which is super helpful if you're sort of doing street photography. And yeah, I think, yes, it's true, the autofocus misses from time to time and is slow compared to modern cameras, but if you shoot in manual, it's absolutely fine. The other things, what else would I say about it? It's easy to hold in one hand. I use the little wrist strap, and in winter, if you get cold hands like me, you can wear gloves and have your hands and your camera all gloved up, nice and warm inside your coat jacket. That's how small it is. But I have fingerless gloves, so I can handle it more easily. I think if I had actual gloves on, I'd struggle. I probably would have dropped it 10 times by now. I have found that I naturally I raise it to my eye to use a viewfinder that doesn't even exist on it. And at times I wish that I could turn the screen off completely, but given that there's no other viewfinder or way to see what your compositions are, you can't do that. There's no way to turn the screen off fully. And to be fair, you'd just be shooting blind, so that's a stupid thing to have suggested, but I'd like it from time to time just to save a bit more battery. And yeah, that's all I've got to say really. I might do another video at some point talking about it and some of the photos I've made with it, but here we are. Goodbye.